Hello everyone, Fertility Journals here. Happy holidays. I hope that this fall weather is treating you right. If you're new, thank you so much for watching. I decided to start this YouTube channel as a way to give back to this space after gaining inspiration, motivation, and encouragement from YouTube when I was undergoing my own 12 cycles of IVF. We are now blessed with a bouncy, beautiful baby boy, and I did vow that once I was successful, that I would try to give back to this space in the hopes that you could walk away with maybe just an inspiration, some type of encouragement, or maybe a tip or two as you undergo your own IVF journey. Today, I'm going to answer the question, why we PGS tested. Often is the case that you'll notice that my channel, I do have every single one of the 12 cycles in a playlist. So if you're looking for inspiration or just curious, you can definitely take a look at those. I do have the link in the information bar. But every now and then, if I'm asked a question that I feel would benefit a lot of people, I'll hop on here, get dolled up like I am today, and try to answer that question in the hope that it motivates others. Baba is actually getting his diaper changed as we speak. So if you hear him, that's what's going on. And then hubby just actually loaded the dishwasher. It's a busy day in our household, but that's good problems to have, right? So without further ado, I'm going to share with you the reasons why we PGS tested. The first reason we PGS tested was to do our best to prevent a miscarriage. We were working with Dr. Frank Yelian of the Life IVF Center, and what's great about working with him is that most of his clients were typically women of my age with the same diagnosis. So he did have enough data to provide us counsel on how to proceed. The cause for miscarriage is typically chromosomal abnormalities, and there's different reasons and different stages that miscarriages happen. What was fearful for my husband and I to learn was the type of miscarriage that didn't just happen naturally, but one that required a DNC. And this was a fact that I had to face being older, is that a lot of the eggs that I have were not going to be healthy. And so if we didn't test them to just kind of get a sense, then there was a potential that we would face a miscarriage, which would delay our journey. Because remember, I was embryo banking, I was trying to capitalize and get as many eggs as possible to maximize my chances. And so for that reason, we decided to PGS test. The second reason we decided to PGS test was to be able to see if we could get a healthy egg. Even though we were embryo banking and we were committed to getting as many embryos as possible, we wanted to PGS test as we went along to be able to see if we could get a healthy embryo and then freeze it and then possibly, look into a transfer. And so financially, we were able to PGS test early on, and in our 6th cycle, we were then able to get the healthy embryo. So that was kind of exciting and a little bit of a motivator, because you could embryo bank, go through retrievals and just freeze them and not test them. But I think it was really nice to get that result from economics for that particular cycle to let us know that we had something that was positive. And it gave us the inspiration to continue up until our 12th cycle and even get more embryos. And so that was also the second reason why we decided to PGS test. The third reason we wanted to PGS test was we learned through our doctor that what typically happens is that when the embryo reaches the 5th day, the embryologists give it a grade. But it is not as sharp and as detailed as the PGS test results. And so it's interesting because you guys, if you have been watching me, you remember my 5th IVF cycle. I consider that to be the most successful, honestly, because it was the first time that my embryo underwent each and every stage. And even though it returned PGS abnormal, I really did value that cycle and I learned a lot. And I was excited and I was like, this is the way to go. But what was interesting about the grading was that that embryo, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll make sure that I write this in the video if I get it wrong, I believe it was a 4BB or a 4BC embryo, which is not a bad grade necessarily. And it would have been one that we would have eventually transferred, right? But it ended up testing PGS abnormal. And that was really, powerful for us because it let us know the importance of using science to be able to gauge what's healthy and what is not when it comes to our chances for success. The fourth reason we PGS tested is really mostly sentimental and what I learned from YouTube. I was an avid watcher of many YouTubers, you guys know that. I watched Uniquely Ursi, I watched Phil and Alex, Simply Tanika, I watched Laura Laws, I actually watched Fruitful, just to name a few. So many of them had really shared their journeys, and I wanted to learn from them because they had been through it. And I'll never forget when Phil and Alex really talked to us about the health of their embryos after Alex underwent a lot of those miscarriages. If you watch her, then you're familiar with that. If you haven't, you need to watch. She underwent multiple pregnancies and there was multiple miscarriages, and she was trying to find out the reason why, and she was able to get them tested, and she discovered that they were not healthy embryos. And so I could not let that go by without learning from their experience and honoring their vulnerability to share their journey. And so for that reason, we decided to PGS test. The fifth reason we decided to PGS test, and you may too, was so that we could freeze the embryos and use them later and know that those were the embryos to use. I share with you the great example of what we went through when we were in a financial position to PGS test. We had the one that had a good grade. It wasn't the best, but it was a good grade, came up unhealthy. And then we had my wonderful baby boy, my full BA, and he came back healthy. And so it's interesting because it was important, and that was kind of the plan, and you can think about doing this too, is that you're kind of testing and then freezing these embryos so that you can identify which one that you could transfer later. Just like us, we identified which one, and then that was the one we chose to transfer over the other one because we PGS tested. The sixth reason we decided to PGS test is because women of my age, and I was actually able to do research, and this is actually true, and I've actually seen it happen. When you are over the age of 42, 43, there's a higher risk of Down syndrome and other chromosomal abnormalities. And so it is important to be able to test the embryos first, because like I said, it may lead to a miscarriage, which may delay your journey. And so because women of my age group tend to have an increased, an increased chance of this happening, we decided to PGS test. So thank you so much for watching, folks. Remember, if you're curious about my 12 IVF cycles, take a look at the playlist below. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to email me. I am happy to provide any insight I can as you stop by to gather support for your own journey or the journey of others. Thank you again for watching. Until my next video, bye.